What's happening, PricePlow Nation and KetoConnect fans? This is Mike here with PricePlow. So here's a story with this one. In fall of 2017, last year, Matt and Mega from KetoConnect asked me to be on one of their first podcast episodes. They'd been getting a lot of questions about supplements on the keto diet and saw some of my videos and invited me on. Now, they obviously have a huge YouTube following, and it's only grown since this video was made, but they wanted to keep this podcast episode on the iTunes and Google Play feeds, and we're finally getting ours in there as well. So while I was going through our interviews, I found this one and realized it never saw the light of day on YouTube for all you YouTubers out there. And so when we recorded this, it was a Skype interview, and I used two cameras, and so you're going to see the feed of me from the second camera, so my head's kind of cut off there, but hopefully you should understand everything, and I'm going to drop in the description all the citations that we discuss in this video. Now, since this video was made, a lot of things have obviously changed, and so I'm going to set up a few disclaimers here. First off, congratulations to Matt and Mega. Since this video was made, they have gotten engaged, and they have published their keto cookbook. So congratulations. I'll make a link in the description and on our accompanying blog post to that. Also, when I'm going through this video, I was talking about a lot of the things I was going to test, things I was going to do, and clearly if you followed our YouTube channel, I obviously haven't. So not too long after this video was recorded, we actually had our daughter. And along with all the craziness that ensued during that time, keto kind of fell out of my life, and I just wasn't able to stick to like doing a blood testing regime. Our schedule was kind of out of whack, and the honest truth is that when I was going into these sleep deprivation moments, I was craving sugar like crazy. And so I think there's a connection between sleep deprivation and cravings of sugar. And anyway, I was craving sugar like crazy, and I was eating like chocolate chips by the handful. And so that clearly wasn't working with ketosis. And also the alcohol consumption did go up a little bit too. So now that things are gotten a lot smoothed out, I am going to be getting back into this game because you can just see how excited and passionate I am for a lot of this stuff. In addition, I need to disclaim that during this interview, I did a ketone test after taking a full serving of beta-alanine. Now, we have since realized that beta-alanine is slightly glucogenic for me. I've done another test in another video that I could link to. But what happened here is that you're going to see my beta-alanine get taken, and then my ketone levels still go sky high. And the reason for this is that I was super fasted at that point, and when you're talking like this, like crazy, and you're like getting really excited and a little bit nervous, your blood sugar levels and your ketone levels can change. And when you're talking and talking and talking, it expends a lot of energy. At least it does for me. And so that's kind of my explanation of how I got further into ketosis. I was burning fat like crazy during that interview. But all in all, when I do a proper ketone test of beta-alanine, it is slightly glucogenic, meaning that it spikes my blood sugar just a little bit, and it does force my body to stop making ketones as much, and my ketone levels go down. So that's the disclaimer there. So all in all, I'd like to thank Matt and Mega for having me on their podcast. I think it's episode number 7, and they're still going strong with that thing. So you can sign up. I'll make links to the blog post, and I'll make links to all those things. Hopefully you enjoy. You might want to watch it at 1.5x or 1.25x because this is long.
Welcome to PricePlow.
All right, we are here with Mike Roberto, the founder of PricePlow.com, which is a supplement price comparison website. They have a good blog on there too. He's recently got into the keto diet, and he's really into testing different supplements, how it interacts with keto. That's why we found him, and that's why we wanted to have him on today. How's it going, Mike? Can you tell us a little bit about your background, starting the company PricePlow.com, and how you found keto?
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks so much for having me on. I love your channel, as does everyone else here. So super excited to be here. So, right, I'm like yourself, I'm actually an engineer by trade, and I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, and I got into the whole idea of sports nutrition because I was playing water polo at Ohio State, and I was looking for a 5-pound tub of optimum nutrition, 100% whey protein, and Google was a mess, and I was going and trying to save $1, and poor college budget style, and I was like, there's got to be a better way of doing this. And so that was in the early 2000s. Then finally in 2007, I finally started programming PricePlow and launched it in 2008. Kind of realized, version 1.0 was terrible and everything, but I had enough success on a couple other side projects I was able to quit my job and go fully self-employed in 2010. And that's, there was ups and downs, of course. And eventually we revamped the whole site and really started blogging seriously in 2013. And on our blog, we love to like cite sources and kind of tell it as it is. And so the idea behind PricePlow is that it's a price comparison and deals website for nutrition products and supplements and protein powders and the like. And so we mainly deal with sports nutrition side of things. And so a lot of the more pre-workout supplements, energy supplements, bodybuilding gear, not gear itself, but the sports nutrition side for muscle building. But obviously, as you can tell, I'm not a massive guy, and I never really planned to be. I'm a little bit older now; it's not going to happen, And so when I started working on the site, I started looking at other blogs, and I found Mark's Daily Apple, which I'm sure a lot of people know about, Mark Sisson. And he had the Primal Blueprint coming out, and he had an article about insulin resistance where he basically just laid it out. It's an incredible article. It's like Mark's Daily Apple slash diabetes. And I was like, oh my, I just gotten back home from Cleveland, Ohio. I got Italian American family, tons and tons of carbs, like pigging out all week long. And I was like, a train wreck for 15 days or so. And I was like, this Mark guy's got a point. I'm going to take his 30-day challenge. Went full paleo and didn't come out of that for like 3.5 years. And so I've been very connected to the paleo community, but slowly started, getting a little bit out of it. And as I was working more in PricePlow. And so we got more into that area, but I've always had an eye on the whole keto thing. And I honestly regret not moving into it sooner, but really it's some of these keto supplements that got me back into it. And I was like, you know what? This is actually a supplement that I can actually test. When we have a YouTube channel, not even nearly as big as yours, but we got like 5,000 subs, and we do like pre-workout supplement reviews. But it's kind of tough to be like, it's tough to give a good review because you're like, oh yeah, it had energy, it had a lot of caffeine, of course it felt good. It's tough to really give a solid review. But with some of these keto supplements, guess what? I can actually test my blood with a Precision Extra, and I can check my fasted blood sugar. I'm about 15.5 hours fasted right now, and then the ketones. And so you can find out what, does this product really live up to what it says? And I quickly caught one that actually really, really, really did not. And I'm upset about it. I was upset about it because it's a product that's it's got the word keto in it. But I started researching what's up with this supplement, because there are a few things in there that should induce a state of ketogenesis, or at least keep your blood sugar the same or lower. And then those ingredients should allow you to produce more ketones in your blood. I had the exact opposite effect. And so I've already had quote unquote success in having reviews that I could actually do. And so that's what I love about it. But the fact is, I had so much success on the paleo diet. Low carb is my thing anyway. So I think I'm in for the long haul, really. And so I'm 3 months into keto, loving it. And now, so what I'm doing is I'm going through every ingredient in that supplement, and I'm testing one by one, like, what's this going to do? What's this going to do? And you start understanding the science behind it. And just so everyone knows, I'm obviously not a doctor. So, and I like to say, what happens to me is not necessarily going to happen to you, but we all have livers that function basically the same way. So there's a good, what I'm starting to do is I'm starting to build up a roadmap of what supplements really work for someone who's in keto and is serious about it. And no one needs to be as serious as me, but this is kind of like my job for now is I'm trying to put together a list of ingredients that are good to stay good to take, and then bad and the ones that you should stay away from. And I've already kind of got that list going. And really, the basic idea is obviously, we want to stay in ketosis, and we want to keep our blood sugar lower. And there's certain amino acids. Wikipedia has a great page. And by the way, if we ever post this to YouTube or whatever, I will cite all the sources, because I'm not a doctor or anything. I'm happy to cite all the sources because I get a little bit into it here, as you can tell. But yeah, Wikipedia has a basic page about the glucogenic amino acids. And so a lot of the amino acids, some of them taste like sugar, and they convert to sugar. And so you might think, oh, this is like a quote unquote protein, it's an amino acid. Well, in terms of its effects, it actually does, it's actually very similar to taking a sugar. And those were two of the amino acids that were in this supplement, were alanine and glycine. And so, and there was a lot of it in there, and it was so much that it was overwhelming the MCT oil that was in that supplement. and the BHB salts, which we'll definitely get into in this phone call. And so that's where I realized, okay, whoa, I'm onto something. I'm able to like legitimately do reviews here, and I love this stuff. So this is where I'm going, and this is where I'm taking my portion of PricePlow for the time being. And so we're gonna have like all the keto supplements listed, and I have a page, which ones are good, which ones are bad, which ones may or may not be worth the money depending on your budget. And so I think before I go any further with like kind of what we do, I'd like to quickly explain that the way PricePlow works is that it's an affiliate-based business model where if I send you to Amazon, anything you buy there, whether it's a keto supplement or a flat screen TV, we get a commission off of it. And so, but what's cool is that we compare prices from over 50 stores on the site, and it works with any brand, any type of product. So the honest to God truth is, I don't care what you buy, but I want you to get a good deal on it. And kind of by nature of the site, the way we show the lowest prices, it actually kind of lowers our commissions. So it's really like more of a volume play, and I'm totally cool with that. So it's really all about getting information out there and getting the trust of the users. And hopefully eventually you'll want to be like, this is a great protein powder. I want to sign up for deal alerts on it. And then our system emails you if we found a next best price drop. And so that's kind of how it works, but it allows me to be very agnostic. And just the way I'm very principled is that I'm not gonna be here shilling the keto supplement that's $5 a pop, for instance. Like, and there's people making good money on that. Not gonna be me, but I'm very opinionated. So that's kind of how the model works. So you got to realize that I am very pro supplement when it works and when it makes sense. But you'll see that I'm gonna recommend like. Here, Now Foods. It's a low cost brand you can get on Amazon, and some of the stuff's like $5. So it's not, the 50-cent commission's not going to break the bank or anything. So that's kind of how it all works. But one thing I know that you guys found me with by doing these supplement reviews, so I think that's awesome. If you'd like, we can test out one ingredient right now and see where I'm at, like kind of live.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you got?
So, have you guys ever done blood testing with your ketones?
We have never done a ketone blood test, actually. We need to get that. We have a blood glucose monitor, and we also have the breath ketone meter.
And I haven't tried that. And I have so when I started doing this, I started with the pea sticks, and there's a lot of hate, not hate, but like a lot of constructive criticism coming from our Facebook crew. And we have a great Facebook following, not as big as yours, of course, but like I love our fans, and they tore into me a little bit. They're like, dude, you need to get blood tests, or you need to like stop doing this. And so I was like, all right. Then I went and bought this stuff. And so what happens is right now I'm fasted. My first thing I always do is I guess let's just start from scratch. This is the tool that is the what you use to stab yourself. It's the lancet. I call it the stabber. And so it has different settings. I'm at number 5 because I have kind of thick skin, and it'll stab you a little bit harder if you need to get more blood out. And unfortunately, the ketone tests do require a little bit more blood than the glucose test. So you gotta stab yourself pretty hard. But I put this in and then screw off the cap. And I don't know if you can see it, but there is a stabber on that. I'm not sure where that's focusing.
What are you paying for the ketone test strips these days?
And so I monitored them with PricePlow. This is what you call dog fooding in the computer software industry. I'm eating my own dog food. They're not cheap. So the blood glucose tests are like maybe $1, I don't know, $1 a pop, maybe a little bit less. The ketone tests nearly get to $2 a piece. So all these reviews I'm doing, by the end of this whole thing, I'm gonna have spent like well over $1,000 just on this stuff, and that's fine because it's a business expense. It's what you do, and so they are at PricePlow.com/precision-extra, where it's spelled XTRA, and it's actually made by Abbott. It's a legitimate pharmaceutical company. And so let's give myself a pop here. So I put the cap back on here. It goes one of these two ways. There we go.
And if you guys are wondering, this is a lot of what he does on YouTube. He does this for different supplements, different ingredients. So you can find this on his YouTube channel. It's really cool. I've watched a bunch of the videos already. And yeah, it's cool that you're putting together this awesome keto resource of just like a master list of supplements.
Oh, thank you.
No one's really done that yet, I feel like.
And that's the thing is I think not everyone's going to respond exactly like me. And of course, this is an experiment of one. You have to realize this is not a placebo-controlled, peer-reviewed, blah, blah, blah. But I do come in fasted, and I don't eat anything for the 45 minutes. And I've kind of chosen 45 minutes as my before and after time. And so, yeah, I was like, no one's doing this. And there's this supplement out there with a bunch of these like glucogenic amino acids. Like someone's got to at least say something. And I hope they reformulate. They will. I'm confident they will.
Are we not naming names?
It's BPI Sports' Keto Aminos.
Yeah, I was on the edge of my seat. I was like, what supplement is he talking about?
And I'm friends with these guys. It's like, there's the product tastes great. Don't get me wrong. Like, review-wise, it tastes great, but it's just like these guys who formulate it, you can't just take your old supplement formula and throw it at the keto market. We have different functioning bodies. We're using an alternative fuel source, like literally. And so you can't just do the same thing. And I think it'll be a lesson learned, but I know that stuff sells well. And I figure, to me, it's like, if I'm testing these, I got to be honest. And I like the guys. I talked to a few of them. I've had phone calls, and so it's just it's unfortunate that it was rushed to market, and they were first to market, and that's an important thing. But you still got to do it right. It's like $50 of equipment, just a little bit of Wikipedia level research, and you're like, oh. Yeah, we need to get the glycine out of this product, and so they will. Their pre-workout already looks like it's a little better formulated. So the trick is, and honestly, I feel for diabetics who have to do this all the time, because it's not painful, but it's like to stab yourself all the time, it's annoying. And so the trick is, you're supposed to get yourself like kind of on the side because you have less nerves there, but I kind of just go all in, but I like to be prepared before I start. So I open up the wrapper here. And so this is the end that's going to stick into the Precision Extra. And when you stick it in, it then takes a second and loads and asks for the blood. And that's where we put the drop of blood on the other end. And so let me get prepared here.
So you're about 16 hours fasted, you were saying now?
Yes.
You do that pretty routinely?
That's what I'm finding is working best for me. So yeah, I'm doing the intermittent fasting. The thing is, my eating window is like 8 hours, and kind of like, it's almost like 7.5 hours after I finish the supplement review and clean up and close down the camera. And I'm not getting enough calories in. It's the second meal out of that that's failing me. So we'll see where I end up. I've kind of got my macros kind of figured out what I need to do. And then now I'm working, and we're going to talk a lot about the electrolytes, because I'm like a little bit too passionate about what's going on with that. There's some funny things. But I still need to perfect the eating window a little bit for myself. But yeah, the intermittent fast is working. I know you guys did like the 3-day fast and everything.
Yeah, 4-day. I was listening to one of your videos. You what are you doing for like calorie intake? You seem to be a pretty slender guy.
Yeah, so
like 2,800 or something.
Yeah, so I'm 6 feet, 185 pounds, and it depends on the training, because I swim, and when I'm swimming, it's like, whew, you got to eat a lot, and so 2,800, I'm still losing a little bit. 2,900 calories is where I like to be, but it's tough to do in an 8 hour window. So I'm going to be making some of my own fat bombs, just like. Like you have.
That really helps with getting the calories in. Have you found your calorie intake can be a little bit higher on a keto diet?
Absolutely. Oh yeah, for sure. Calorie is just a calorie. No way in hell. Once you're in ketosis, I think a lot of the rules go out the window, and I don't believe that for a minute anymore. Because on a carb-based diet, I need to stay at 2,600, like pretty tight. For me, like 2,900, and I'm still trending down on weight a little bit. So absolutely. At the window, the difference is probably bigger than what I'm making it out to be in all reality. So, all right, people are probably waiting. Let's just do this.
Yeah.
Okay, so by the way, if you're watching this on YouTube, you're going to see blood. If you don't like blood, turn away. All that. So, boom, a little bit of stab, and then I squeeze it. There's my blood, and so now the race is on and that's what it's asking for. Is it asking for blood yet? Okay, there.
Yeah.
Now I put the blood in.
And this is a
glucose
blood ketone test?
Blood
this is glucose?
I got to... And then while that's waiting, I try to squeeze out some more blood, and I might need to... So what's my blood glucose at? I'm at 90, which I like to be in the 80s, but that's not horrible. And I might need to stab myself if I don't get enough blood going for this ketone one, so I'm squeezing out a little bit more.
You don't want to waste the ketone test.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've made that. It's a $2 mistake. So, fasted blood sugar at 90. I've been as low as 70. So it's kind of funny how it works. And I noticed this. I've said this on the YouTube channel. When I eat the evening before, if I eat spinach and coconut oil, undoubtedly every single time my blood sugar is lower the next morning.
That's interesting.
Something about greens. I'm gonna be testing all this stuff. I'm gonna say that 100 times in this call, but I will be testing. So it's asking for the ketones for the blood, and put that in there. Need a bit more. It's got it. Excuse me there. But so this takes 10 seconds. But yeah, without a doubt, something about leafy greens lowering blood sugar for me. And so I'm gonna run some. I'm gonna find a way to do some sort of experiment there. Whoa. Okay. This is the highest I've ever had in
1.7.
1.7. This is the highest I've ever had, like quote unquote, fasted sober. So I'm kind of bouncing off the walls here. Now what we're going to do is so two of the glucogenic amino acids are glycine and alanine. And so alanine, it's really simple. The alanine cycle, you give your liver alanine, it gives you back glucose. It's like that simple. It's not a crazy thing. And so the question is, what about beta alanine? Because this is in a lot of pre-workout supplements and supplements in general. And this is a precursor. It helps your body produce more carnosine, which helps flush out the lactic acid and I think other types of acids in your muscle. And so there's some studies that show it's got some muscular endurance that benefits. So what we do on the channel, and you're going to start seeing some of the branched chain amino acids where I eat these powders and they don't always taste good. So this one I know isn't too bad though. So the standard dose is 3.2 grams for a daily dose of beta alanine. So that's what I measured here already. You'll have to trust me that it is. And so I just go to town.
He's eating the beta
And
alanine.
you kind of got to chew it. I don't know. I haven't figured it out.
He's taking it like a champ.
So yeah, this is in a lot of pre-workouts. It helps with like muscle endurance. It also helps with, is it like lactic acid?
Yeah. So it's a buffer. Or it's not. It itself is not for lactic acid, but the beta alanine helps you produce more carnosine.
Okay.
Which then is the buffer. And so people love it. But the reason it's in so many supplements is because it has the tingles. I don't know if you ever had tingles from your pre-workout. Yeah. It's the beta alanine. Maybe sometimes niacin can do that for you, but it's typically the beta alanine. People get them in all weird spots in their body. And some people hate it so much, like they cringe at what I just did. Other people like it because they, it's kind of like, once you feel your pre-workout kind of kick in, there's a feeling to it, so that helps them sell and everything. But also, it's like that's kind of your body's message that, yo, this stuff's in my bloodstream. Let's go train. And so I'm pro beta alanine, but if I'm below 1.7, we might be a little bit less pro on it, and then maybe you want to space it out during the day. And it's not like we can't take stuff that lowers our ketone levels, but I'm trying to make a kind of a roadmap. And so I guess I long term I might make kind of like, here's the guidelines that work for Mike, Italian American 35-year-old guy who's doing this and that, 185 pounds. You could adjust as you will. And so that's kind of my whole goal with this is if I'm going to be reviewing these, I might as well put the information to use and help people out, and then people can adjust up and down, because we all do have different carb numbers and everything. And unfortunately, I'm quite carb sensitive. And so I got to keep them below, like at 20 or below, sadly. And so, But I was at 1.7 millimolar ketones. So maybe I could have had more carbs yesterday.
Yeah, these tests are actually really great for most of our viewers because a lot of them, they look for their ketone levels to be high. Their goal is weight loss. So taking supplements like this, if it does drop their ketone levels, then they're going to shy away from them. So like, it's not necessarily the goal to stay like high in your ketone levels, but for a lot of people, they like that. It makes them bounce off the walls. So.
Right. And so the other thing is when I was for a while before I figured out the fasting thing, I was stuck at right around 0.5, 0.6 millimoles. And so you're like just on the edge of ketosis. Like 0.5 is kind of the officially agreed upon level. And so if a supplement's dropping me from 0.6 to 0.4, all right, well, I just spiked my blood sugar for just half a second. And this is the bro science of me talking right now. So I got no studies to back this kind of claim up.
We love bro science.
It's coming. But then I dropped my ketone production because my body's like, well, I don't need to make ketones anymore. I got this sugar around. I got to deal with that. And then it deals with that. And now your ketones are dropped. And it's like, and now you got no energy. And so I was stuck in no man's land. And that supplement put me in no man's land 3 times. And I even tried it just training fasted, burning a lot of calories, hoping to get the ketogenesis going, burn some fat. Didn't work. And so the point being is that if you are just on the cusp of ketosis and you tank yourself, then you just like spiked your blood sugar for half a second and then you killed your keto production, and you might not be yet so fat adapted that you're gonna pick it right back up. And so I think when people are getting into it, you got to be a little bit careful. And I took the slow path into ketosis. If I were to do it again, I would just go hardcore. I'd probably fast for a day straight and then stay away from anything even remotely bad. But I think what people are going to realize is a lot of these supplements, and I say this as quote unquote a supplement sales guy because that's essentially what PricePlow is. A lot of these supplements are not great for keto dieters because all these pre-workouts, we'll see what happens with the beta alanine. But a lot of these pre-workouts have citrulline, they have glutamine, there's a lot of these ingredients that are glucogenic. They're not ketogenic. And so the ketogenic ones are absolutely, without a doubt, leucine And so I know a lot of people are asking you about the branched chain amino acids. I just finished the 3 of those. So,
yeah, I didn't see leucine was the last one you were going to do, right?
Yes. No, leucine was the second. Because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying not to do all bad ones in a row, because it's just like turns into a wave of like, oh, I just keep dropping myself. So isoleucine is both glucogenic and ketogenic, and I'm not sure under what situations either one happens. But
so for those that don't know, the branched chain amino acids, the 3 major ones are leucine, valine, isoleucine.
Correct.
Those are what are generally included in like your BCAA mixes. And a lot of people do ask, are those keto friendly? And you've tested all 3 individually.
So we're not there yet. By the time this publishes, we'll probably be about ready to rock. So I don't want to over promote the PricePlow channel, but yeah, I'll have it up there eventually. So isoleucine theoretically is ketogenic and glucogenic, and that's exactly what happened. I'm doing 2 days of testing for each thing. Like I can't spend a whole week on one ingredient. And so one day it went up, my ketones went down 0.1 or so, 0.2. The other day it went up 0.1, so it continued through my fast, so it wasn't such a big deal. Leucine, very ketogenic. I actually went up 0.5 millimoles one day. And this is, so by the way, these are 5-gram doses. It's kind of the standard. And so, yeah, you'd never want to take 5 grams of Valine on its own, but that's kind of what I'm doing. But what we're going to do is, like, I have a standardized kind of 5 grams of this amino acid is my standard. And so what we're going to do is we're going to test how each one performs. And then I'm going to try to build the BCAA ratio that's best for me. And so leucine, awesome. I put that powder in all my stuff pretty much. I sprinkle it on anything. And so that's it went up 0.5 one day. It went up 0.2 the other day. And then with Valine, it went down 0.1. Valine went down one day and then went up another day. So my fast powered over it.
In your testing, leucine actually increased your ketone
levels?
Yeah,
it's ketogenic.
Okay. And leucine is generally regarded as the most important for muscle building, correct?
Exactly. The thing is, there's the fewer of the amino acids are ketogenic, but leucine and lysine are. I haven't tested lysine, and leucine. The science actually it got backed up by what happened in my body, so it was exciting.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So just based on learning this right now, I'm probably going to buy a bulk leucine solo powder after this.
I personally, I recommend it. Yeah. Now, what people need to realize, if you're an insane calorie counter, these do count as calories. You're as a protein calorie, I guess you call it. So don't forget to do that. If you're dieting down for a competition, some people forget to do that. And if you're drinking this stuff all day long.
Yeah, these are marketed as 0 calorie a lot of the time, and it's just like add it to your drink. I remember back like maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I was doing the lean gains protocol, if you've ever heard of that.
Yeah.
And they recommend just drinking BCAAs like all through your fasting window, which I think, looking back, what we know now, that is kind of defeating the purpose.
Right, that's kind of changed. I forgot to check the time. I took that measurement around like 10:25 or so.
It's been 10 minutes.
Oh, has it? Okay, so let's just call it 10.
So this is like a simpler question, and like probably geared towards a lot of our viewers and myself. So BCAAs, a lot of people take them when they're trying to lose weight, but they're still working out. They think they're like necessary or mandatory. So I'm trying to gain muscle, so I can see how it could be beneficial. I'm lifting really intensely. But what about someone losing weight, but just like doing some cardio and, on the keto diet?
The research is actually kind of showing a little bit against the the branched chains in terms of if your diet is already fine. You don't need to have protein in your mouth all 24 hours a day, and that's what we're kind of seeing as fasting individuals. But if your protein numbers are indeed low, that's definitely a great thing to have during your workout, I believe. Or if you, in general, if you're getting enough protein throughout the day and you're trying to lose weight, it could actually be counterproductive. You might bump yourself too much protein.
I've seen some advertising for BCAAs as like a weight loss aid, and I don't think that's necessarily true.
Oxidizing fat is how we've heard it.
You gotta be careful of those claims. I would not fully agree unless certain circumstances you're not getting enough protein. But even on PricePlow, we're like, hey, this is food first. Come on, And so I'm not gonna sit here and lose credibility just because I want to make 10 cents on, not 10 cents, but I want to make $1 selling a tub of leucine. But the fact is, I do like it, and now for different reasons, and it's because it seems to be helping with the ketone spike. What I would caution people, and this is what we're gonna have to test with the branched chain products, a lot of these BCAA supplements do have like that beta alanine, which we'll see how it goes, and then they have citrulline malate. Citrulline is glucogenic. A lot of them have glutamine, glucogenic, and some of these flavor systems, I don't want to I can't throw anyone under the bus here, but I have a feeling that some of these flavor systems are spiked with a little bit of maltodextrin. And so...
can you go into the rules on the labeling of supplements? So there's supplement facts and then there's nutrition facts, and they don't necessarily have to list maltodextrin if it's in there, right?
I would think that they... Honestly, I don't know the laws down to the level of if it's in the natural and artificial flavors. It seems like there's some leeway in there. But I don't know. Like maltodextrin, being that it provides carbs, but I guess if it's not providing more than half a carb, you maybe don't. I think that's very wrong. Another thing is like some of those MCT powders, they have to spray them against the surface, and that's sometimes they spray it against maltodextrin too. So if you find an MCT powder that's not saying it's with a fiber, you got to be careful. And I will be testing those, so we'll see. But yeah, so the maltodextrin can sneak in there. Is it a big deal for the average person? No. But when I'm trying to do this, super right, it does matter to me. Now regarding the laws though, so the weird thing about the amino acids is, and this will be the first of many criticisms I have on the FDA here today. So the way it works is that if you have a straight free-form amino acid product, if you have a straight free-form amino acid product, I have some other, like BCAAs here that don't have any other like brown proteins with it. There's no whey protein there, and the amino acids are all alone. They are not counted as calories. They're not counted as protein. They're not counted as anything. It's zero, quote unquote, 0 calories per the FDA's guidelines. But that's not the truth, because if you take a branched chain, you can get calories out of it. But now if you add the branched chain amino acids to a protein powder, then all of a sudden or even to vitamins, but a lot of people don't follow that law. But if you add it to a protein powder, then it does get counted as calories and protein. And so what happened is this actually led to a scam known as amino acid spiking. And they were adding like this cheap glycine and taurine, which to the amino acid powders, because the protein by law is tested using a Kejdal, I think I pronounced that wrong, nitrogen analysis. And if you look at creatine, there's 3 nitrogen molecules on a creatine atom, or 3 nitrogen atoms on a creatine molecule. And so what they were doing is they were adding this stuff to protein. It wasn't legitimate food-based whey protein, but it was bumping up the protein numbers on a nitrogen test. And so that got cracked open, and that was one of our first blog posts where I went down the rabbit hole. And you start seeing that there aren't even like laws on the internet, like it's not even written on the internet. They're referencing books from forever ago that you can't find. It's a mess. And so we helped crack that open along with a few other YouTubers that are talking about it. But that was the article that kind of put us on the map, and I took a lot of pride in it because a good article like that takes time to research, but it was like, man, is your protein really protein? And sometimes at that point, a lot of it wasn't. And it was right there on the label. But the worst part is that sometimes it wasn't there on the label. And that's why you'll see with these tests, I'm going to have to plug someone right now. I am using NutraBio a lot because there is a third-party lab test that they are publishing on the web. You could take a look at this lot number and put it into checkmysubs.com. I'll post a link. The lab test is there, and this is a 99.52% pure beta-alanine I just took.
And the company is
That's NutraBio.
NutraBio.
Yeah, they're in New Jersey.
Yeah.
I have a YouTube video where I'm interviewing Mark Glazer, the CEO of the company, and he is 1,000 times more passionate than I am about this stuff. And so I have a video where I talk about, I'm like, hey, Mark, I did a plant tour at their facility. I'm like, Mark, are supplements unregulated? Because that's what a lot of people think. And he's like, he goes on this like 10, 20-minute rant about all the laws they have to follow as a supplement manufacturer. And you do need to test the incoming materials into your facility, and you do need to test them before they go out. And a lot of people don't do that. And so they're posting their third-party lab tests. And the companies that we tend to work with the most are the ones that are doing that, or they're manufactured at a facility where we know they do that. But I know there's facilities that they trust this incoming material that comes from China, and then the Chinese manufacturer from wherever provides this certificate of authenticity or whatever, and so then the manufacturer gets it and they trust it, and then they don't test their outgoing product, and then the consumer trusts them, and guess what? Nothing was ever tested. And so the more you go down this road, the more you realize, like, I want lab tests, and the fact that I could do a blood test here, like, makes it all the better. And so And so you got to realize, like, I'm kind of a tech startup founder, and I'm going down these paths that are just so like wild and interesting because you want to know more and more and more. And so for me, a challenge is like, okay, at what point do I stop and actually get back to focusing on the technology and stuff? But this is what I'm passionate about. So I try to find partners or people who are equally or more passionate about the quality. And Mark Glazer at NutriBio is definitely one of them. So apologies for plugging him, but that's why we're using his stuff, because I will post a link to the lab test that was done on that tub right there. Or not on that tub, but on that batch. So
yeah, we love getting recommendations. So much of buying a supplement is like just trusting the company.
Yeah.
It is.
And just knowing that it's like a good company that stands behind their product.
And the fact is, if I were to find one of those amino acid spiking companies, and I just did a lab test, and by the way, a proper protein lab test is $2,000 because you have to test each individual amino acid. And so I can't afford to do that with every protein on the market, even close. And so, but if I were to post one that was bad, guess what? It's going to happen. I'm getting sued. And so, and even if I did or did not have a case, they would have to be like, well, what's your chain of custody? Where did you buy it? How do I know you didn't tamper with it? Blah, blah, blah. And so a lot of people avoid doing this. Labdoor.com is a site that does do it. Unfortunately, I kind of disagree with the way they rate their proteins, because they rate their protein really by, I forget what he says. There's a good bodybuilding.com forum post where he says they rate it by strength and not by label adherence. And I'm like, no, if the label says 24 grams of protein, especially as a keto dieter where too much protein can put you over the top and start spiking insulin. If it says 24 grams of protein, I want 24 freaking grams of protein. And so, or within the 10% tolerance or whatever, but they go by strength with that. But yeah, Labdoor is awesome with some of this stuff, but I know that they've been sued because of a couple of things they do. And so it is what it is. And I can't, unfortunately, provide all the data that I wish I could. But as we grow and as we become more successful, and you might be able to tell a bit of my mean streak that I'm willing to put some money towards lawyers. Let's put it that way. So we'll see where that goes, though, because it's a tech company, so I still got to like pace myself with all this, and so yeah. But
so just to recap, citrulline malate definitely has a glucose response.
L-citrulline on Wikipedia they say it is. We'll find out for me. I haven't done that one yet.
So citrulline malate, that's included in a lot of pre-workouts, correct?
Correct. And it's really so if you want to talk to NutriBio someday, he'll tell you there is not any proper citrulline malate really on the market. It's actually malic acid mixed with citrulline. And so this is what happens with the testing. And so it's just, it's crazy. But yeah, citrulline itself is theoretically glucogenic. I'll find out what it does for me. But it gives the that nitric oxide enhancement and gives you a good pump in the gym. And hey, maybe that's worth a blood sugar boost. I just want to know. And so I'm not necessarily against it.
I would say there's definitely some of these that maybe they spike your blood sugar a little bit, but they make sense in a pre-workout, even if you're on keto, if like going hard in the gym is still your main focus. I don't think it totally puts them off limit, but it's definitely nice to know.
Exactly, especially if you're trying to get into ketosis and you're at 0.6 millimole and you keep dropping yourself down. I think you got to go hardcore a little bit, stay away from the supplements and eat whole foods, coconut oil, MCT, all that stuff at first. Honestly, the one thing I really want to talk about supplement-wise, if you don't mind me kind of redirecting conversation just for a minute, is I think everyone who's listening to this should take a look at their multivitamin right now. Like pause the podcast or whatever. Look at your multivitamin and tell me if you have selenium in it. Because the biggest thing that no one's talking about, and it's not necessarily as much for adults, but for the children, and I'll cite some sources here, but selenium deficiency happens with a picky keto diet. And so it's happened, there's a couple case studies with the seizure control, epileptic patients in children, the keto diet. That's really where the keto research really started. And so with a picky eater, if they're not getting enough selenium, there are cardiac situations that can happen, including there's this case study with 2 deaths, unfortunately. So I want to make sure everyone's getting enough selenium. Check your multivitamin, and you should be good to go.
That's interesting. I actually eat sardines and Brazil nuts specifically for this. And
so I was actually going to point that out. And so, yeah, if you eat Brazil nuts, you might actually be getting too much. Like it's there's like 500
I eat like
micrograms.
3. I think like 3 a day is like almost your daily value.
Yeah. So yeah, the warning is you don't want to get too much because if you're eating Brazil nuts by the handful, then you're going to get a lot of selenium. And then the sardines. But you think like as a kid who's who's on a ketogenic diet or a picky eater. Like spinach is low on the list, eggs are in there, sardines, halibut, I think, like yellowtail, and then of course the Brazil nuts. And so it's like that's a lot of food that a kid might not want to eat.
Yeah.
And so that's where they saw, after they had to do this autopsy, there's a selenium deficiency, the heartbeat goes crazy, and it's kind of scary. So that's one thing that not enough people talk about. And so supplement wise, get that. It's low risk for most of us adults. We're getting something in that's going to feed us the selenium. Most multivitamins have it, but it's like high impact if you don't have it. So that's...
Yeah, it influences your cognitive function a lot from what I've read too, selenium.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah, I haven't read that. Is it pronounced selenium? What part of the?
Selenium. I'm not sure.
Okay, because part of the problem being an internet junkie who has not admittedly listened or done enough podcasts is that I'll pronounce a lot of stuff wrong here. So
that's really funny because we did a bunch of research on artificial sweeteners and then we turn the camera on and Mega comes out and she's like aspartame.
Awesome. Can you say
our viewers still bring it up and make fun of her?
Aspartame. I love that. What about Ace K? Do you know how to pronounce the real name for Ace K?
I always say acetylfame potassium.
Yeah, I think that's what it is, but I always like throwing an extra acetylfame. I can't do it proper, so yeah, a lot of people don't like that stuff, but I'll test that too. I don't mind.
Oh, that would actually be really interesting too.
Yeah, that one. Some people get bad reactions, but it's in a lot of the protein powders out there. So we'll see. But here, one thing, and I don't want to throw anyone under the bus yet, but so there was one morning where I do drink coffee fasted, black coffee. And I need to start getting into better coffee now because I'm not able to totally sweeten it up. But I put in a stevia drop and I put 5 stevia drops into my black coffee. And then I was like, just fired up the YouTube. I just record on my cell phone for these videos, sitting right here. And I did my blood sugar, and it was 115. I'm like, whoa, that's nearly pre-diabetic. I'm like, what is in here? And I was like, I realized I did the stevia drops. Mm-hmm. And so it was a flavored stevia drop. It was like the English toffee flavor. So add it to the list of things I got to test because I'm not fully convinced that some of these artificial sweeteners are fully non-sugar spiking. And it's fine. Again, it's fine if they spike your blood sugar, but at the same time, I got to come in fasted for these tests I'm doing. Otherwise I'm full of shit. So,
have you ever done a test just with black coffee?
Nope, that's coming next week actually. So, because a lot of the people I'm talking to, they believe that that coffee is ketogenic or it does something that induces ketones. But on Twitter, Dr. Dom D'Agostino, he just posted something where they had a study, and I didn't really get it. They said that with breakfast, the coffee, induced ketogenesis or whatever. But it's like, well, wasn't the breakfast kind of a confound there? So what we're going to do is we're just going to watch me get cracked out and drink a pot of coffee and do a test. But I also need to do a test with just doing nothing too, because how much does my ketone level change between 15 and a half hours fasted and like 16 and a half hours fasted? That's something that I think it goes up like by 0.1. And again, to cite Dr. D'Agostino, I think on the Joe Rogan podcast, he mentioned between 16 and 18 hours, like things really start to advance. And so I haven't done that test. So there's lots of things that we can do to try to at least for me, put together what's the most optimal diet. But my concern would be with an 18-hour fast is that I don't think I get enough food in the 6 hours. Like, yeah, what I was catching myself doing was actually eating this huge breakfast afterwards, and it was like doing 5 or 6 eggs, 3 or 4 slices of bacon, and way too much cheese. And I had like 55 grams of protein in it, and I was crashing. And I was like, why is this happening? I lowered it to below 40 grams of protein and stopped crashing. And I think I was spiking my blood sugar because I was going over. And so it's like I had to lower the breakfast, but then I stayed full for long enough that now my calories are too low. So I'm still working with that. But after the fast, having this monster breakfast has not been totally great for me personally. So I got to figure that out.
We did that for a while.
Yeah.
We've eased off that. We actually stopped doing intermittent fasting recently. We're doing more balanced eating throughout the day, like 3 or 4 meals. We need to monitor ketones better, though.
Yeah, we need to get a ketone meter, and we'll go to PricePlow. Obviously.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, all right, cool. I'll give you a kickback. I don't know if I'm legally allowed to say that. But anyway, but yeah, there was a good quote. There's a good quote like chase results, not ketones. So you realize you don't need to do it, but for the sake of what I'm doing, I'm in mega ketone chasing experimentation mode right now. But also, I'm only 3 months in, and I'm still figuring things out. And the best way to figure things out is to really measure. And sadly, the next thing, like supplement wise, what I've been really researching is the electrolyte situation. And it's crazy because it gets so crazy that no one knows anything is what you start realizing. And so the only really true answer to any of this stuff is that you got to get blood tests. And so I often, I haven't done any blood work yet on the stuff because I'm just finally, as you can see, getting quite keto adapted here. And so, but there's a lot of tests you could do for, for the magnesium, calcium, sodium levels and everything. But I think that's truly going to be the best way. And of course, triglycerides and all that stuff, iron. And so I'm going to be able to put a roadmap together, what works best for me, and then people can maybe adjust from there. But the issue is with the electrolyte situation, if you mind me going into that. And and so, okay, first, I guess I have to do a disclaimer / premise this with the fact that when we look at like these daily values and everything, you have to realize by nature, like by us being on this keto diet, we are in a way thumbing our noses at the FDA. We're saying this food pyramid, 6 to 11 servings of grains per day. Are you kidding me? I would be morbidly obese if I ate 11 servings of grains per day. So you got to realize I am not, the irony doesn't escape me that on one side of my mouth, I am like thumbing my nose at the FDA and laughing at their suggestions by the mere basis of being on the keto diet. But on the other side of the coin, we do need to look to the FDA, at least for a starting point for the guidelines on some of these percentages, whether it's selenium or whether it's for how much potassium or sodium you can get in. But the ridiculous thing is that if you look around, you're going to get no agreement whatsoever on sodium, potassium, and magnesium. Everyone's pretty sure like we need more magnesium and everything. We'll get into that. But what happens with the keto diet is that you're taking less carbs, and so you need less insulin, and there's some sort of mechanism that occurs where, as we all know, you start kind of losing water weight, and along with that goes sodium. So a lot of people think you need to take a lot of extra sodium. And so there's a new book that I need to read. It's waiting for me at the mailbox. Is called The Salt Fix. And so this doctor was just on the Two Keto Dudes podcast, and he spoke really intelligently. He's very pro sodium, and he made some very compelling arguments. So so part of the whole idea is that it seems that a lot of people need more of these electrolytes, but it's not just keto dieters. A lot of stuff I'm going to say, because everyone's be like, oh my God, this guy's recommending all these different supplements. Well, if you look at it, all Western dieters are not getting enough magnesium. And a lot of people, our obsession with calcium may be hurting that a little bit too much. And then if you ask like the doctor who wrote the Salt Fix, he's suggesting way more sodium than necessary. So it's like, I have a feeling that a lot of us, and if you're not a big sweet potato or banana eater, you might not be getting enough potassium either. And so I have a feeling a lot of this stuff applies to everyone, not just keto dieters. But if you're getting into keto, a lot of the keto flu could be possibly attributed not just to like having that lack of carb shock and not yet being in ketosis, but also your body's begging you for some sodium and potassium and stuff. So
what did the doctor recommend for sodium? Do you recall?
No, I don't. I'm sorry. But like Lyle McDonald, he's got a forum post from way back when where he's recommending 5 grams a day. Now, here's what's hilarious. And so the FDA, they want you to keep a low sodium intake, but they want you to take 4.7 grams of potassium. And so this is based upon the 2010 Food Dietary Guidelines. There is a study, and I'll cite this. There's a study in 2013 where these doctors, they realize that it is actually feasibly impossible to properly get both low sodium with like, they use 6 different diets that they were popular, like kind of diets that the FDA recommends. It is literally impossible to get low sodium but high enough potassium per the FDA's guidelines. So like the FDA's own suggestions simply don't work for anyone, not even let alone keto dieter. You can't keep your potassium that high and your sodium that low. Like something is wrong. And so I think the answer is really, it's going to come down to you. It's going to come down to your diet, and it's come down to ratios really. And so it's going to come down to blood tests. And so it's going to be tough to like drive this because no one knows. The FDA is making recommendations that are literally impossible. And then to make matters worse, in order to supplement potassium, you can't, because of the FDA's, milligrams. What's that? Exactly. You can't take more than 100 milligrams in the serving and 99 milligrams at a time. So 4,700 milligrams of potassium is what you're suggested to get. And
just take 47 potassium pills.
Exactly. So yeah, I literally would need to take 20 potassium pills, and that's just absolutely ridiculous. The solution to the problem is to find a powdered supplement. And so
I just picked some of that up. I'm working on like some recipes using it, like vitamin style recipes.
Cool. Yeah, you can make your own like electrolyte Gatorade mix. Maybe get some that leucine in there.
It just tastes really bad. It's hard to overcome.
Which one do you have?
I have that same one.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, I got potassium citrate. There are other forms. Some people I think might like potassium lactate might be one, but potassium chloride is another one. Being a swimmer, I think I get enough chlorine in my life that I don't need to have any more chloride floating around my body. But yeah, you're right. It doesn't taste good. Some people add the sodium to your coffee. That's what the Salt Fix. I wish I knew his name. I'm citing this guy so many times. He says in the two Keto Dudes podcast. So you could try adding it to coffee. Yeah, you got to figure it out. But I think just adding it to your homemade sports drink might be a way to get potassium going, and it's at a good time when you need it. And so, yeah, so like these hypocrisies of the FDA itself, you realize like, wow, it's not just keto dieters are flying blind. We are literally flying blind with a lot of stuff because it's so personalized. And so everyone's got to kind of take that into consideration when listening to what I'm saying here. But yeah, I'm adding a little bit of the powdered stuff so far. So.
Sorry, you just cut out a little bit there. Okay, we're back.
Yeah, I said, okay, yeah, so I'm adding a little bit of the powdered stuff there.
So if we could just move away from that a little bit.
Okay,
just, so I saw on your blog too, you mentioned like there was a fat burner blog. I didn't like go into it, but I just saw it briefly. And I've tried fat burners in the past. I'm slightly ashamed to say it, but
no, that's fine.
Is there like but a lot of people say that fat burners like are claiming all this stuff, but nothing in them helps or actually pushes fat along to like be lost.
Yeah, and so you're going to get a little bit of both, and it's tough to find quality good ingredients, but I do believe in certain mechanisms that are happening. If something is thermogenic or can induce lipolysis, then you're going to get a lot more free fatty acids available for you to use, especially good as a keto dieter. But you got to look for the certain ingredients that either help induce that kind of fat loss or that are just that are preventing the fat storage from happening. And some of these ingredients just get you fired up and everything, and that's good for a workout. But if it's a ton of caffeine, that's not necessarily a good thing. I am a fan of ingredients like yohimbine hydrochloride, but too much, like some people are very, very, very sensitive to it, so too much will make you anxious. And so that could help like prevent the fat storage and everything. But if you have an ingredient that is inducing lipolysis, you got to go burn it. Otherwise, it could reattach. And so the stimulant-free ones that we like are the cayenne pepper extracts. There's some decent research there. Nothing like mind-blowing though, but it's good to have. It's good to have pepper in your diet, I think. I'm a huge pepper fan. But also the one that's coming on strong is Grains of Paradise. Very spicy grain, and it helps create a little bit of brown fat cells, and those by nature they burn hotter and they help like keep your metabolism going is what it's starting to look like. And so it's pretty potent spice, and they're adding it to a lot of fat burners. So that's one that I like to keep an eye on. And then of course there's a lot of the stimulants. We don't need to get into that because that's other areas of dispute, but some of these stimulants definitely suppress appetite. And so that's like another thing, but I'm not a big fan of appetite suppression because, and a lot of people might hate me for this, but yeah, I don't eat enough as it is. So the last thing I need to do is be sitting here cracked out for 10 hours, not eating, too much, because then my muscles are going to wither away more than they already have. So yeah, there's a couple ingredients that I do like, but yeah, I'm a fan of the yohimbine. I'm a fan of some of the lipolysis inducing ingredients such as higenamine, synephrine. A little bit they work. And then there's some of these like more zippy PEA agents that there are some okay studies that show that it may help you burn a little bit more energy, but you're going to feel a bit of the cracked out feeling. So some people, you might not love it. Is it necessary? No, absolutely not. But some people just love the feel of it and the energy itself. And so for that, it's okay. But you got to be careful. Some of these ingredients, some of the Dr. Oz ingredients are a bunch of BS. And yeah, and there's been studies that have been retracted. like green tea extracts, super minor, but it's healthy, so why not? But at some
How
point,
about L-Carnitine?
So yeah, L-Carnitine actually. So in terms of both nootropic support, a lot of people I know are asking about like, hey, focus enhancement, and just by virtue of being on a keto diet, you're going to be enhanced on the focus. I'm a big fan of acetyl L-Carnitine for the focus part of things, especially for keto dieters, because we want to create the acetyl L-Carnitine. Can get converted to acetyl-CoA, which is what we need to produce ketones. So this is great for keto dieters alone. But the L-Carnitine, the most of the studies showing with L-Carnitine that is best if you're L-Carnitine deficient, really, in terms of weight loss and fat loss. And so that's really more in the vegetarians and so I'm talking about for like regular dieters. It's more it's more for the vegans, vegetarians, and elderly. But with keto dieters, the more I start looking at this, the more I'm like, okay, I need to start getting acetyl L-Carnitine back into my diet, because I think it's going to be extra productive for keto dieters because of the stuff that's going to get converted into ketones down the road. Plus, in terms of focus and stuff, if everyone's trying to get through that fog a little bit, acetyl L-Carnitine, I believe, crosses the blood-brain barrier, and so it's actually more of a fatty acid transport agent. So it's just moving things around faster, and we need that. And so having more of it is definitely beneficial. People get a bit of a focus boost from like a gram of it. But like a general L-Carnitine liquid that they sell, I'd rather go to the exact form of L-Carnitine I want. And for like muscle building reasons, L-Carnitine L-Tartrate seems to be best. That one helps our body create a little bit more of the androgen receptors. But for focus and for keto dieters, right now I'm thinking acetyl L-Carnitine in theory. And so that will be another test that we'll check out. But the acetate of the acetyl L-Carnitine, it's got that vinegar taste to it. So that's gonna be a fun video for me to take a spoonful of that, and I'll do it.
Now for something you're super interested in is the exogenous ketone supplements. You've done some experiments with these. You seem to have a favorable opinion of them, right?
Yeah, so I'm definitely more pro than con at this point, given, of course, everyone's got to realize, given the budget. If you're on poor man's college budget, you're living paycheck to paycheck, please don't buy these. Like, seriously, this is for people who have a little bit of experimental money to spend. And so I think the biggest issue is education with them and using them in the proper and using them at the right times. And so for me, they clearly work in the fact that they do get more ketones into your bloodstream. Like, so a lot of the haters on our channel will be like, oh, that's just ketosis. Well, guess what? If I'm using it, and so yeah, you're just going to be peeing out the ketones. Well, actually, you think my brain's not going to use it? If I have no carbs in my bloodstream and I'm in the fog because I haven't yet started producing ketones, so if I'm transitioning in to ketosis for the first time, I think it's a great way to get you through the fog if you don't have like 3 days to kill being stupid. And so your brain prefers ketones. And so if you have no sugar left anymore and all of a sudden these ketones show up in your bloodstream, which they do show in your bloodstream. I've proven it. Proven it. That's the reason that for supplements called Prove It. They do show up in your bloodstream. My brain's going to use them without a doubt, and you kind of feel a bit of that focus effect from it. But they're expensive. Am I going to go tell you to spend $2 so you could feel better, as opposed to sucking it up and just get into ketosis for 3 days? That's really up to you and your budget. But I do really like them. Another thing we need to be mindful of is that a lot of people have the keto flu when they're getting into ketosis. You take these BHB salts right here. Here's a new one that's at a GNC brand. This is the guy who used to own Civation. He's going into this now, Ketologic. And if you look at here, we have a lot of calcium, magnesium, and sodium in here. So the question is it necessarily the ketones that are making me feel better, or maybe I had that electrolyte imbalance going on? And so that's another question to be answered, but overall, it does put ketones in your bloodstream. And so the use case of getting into ketosis faster is a great idea. For the other use case of athletics, if you're doing like a standard Joe Schmo 3 sets of 10 kind of 1 hour workout, is it necessarily? No. Does it feel good? I think so, yes. Is that worth spending $1.50 to $2 on? Again, I can't answer that, but I will say that for me, I prefer to take them during the workout. Like, I don't have a problem getting the workout started, but sometimes I might fade or bonk towards the end if it's like a really hard swim. I do feel a bit of a difference with these. And so if you're training super hard, I think it's going to come down to timing, and timing with the bonk is where you can kind of flip into this exogenous ketone mode after you've kind of like tired yourself out. And so there's a good use case for that. What with some of the newer research is coming out, and this is still being tinkered with. I believe whoever figures this out properly is going to be winning a lot of stuff. And I think you mentioned this with your anti-gravity gains podcast. But
yeah.
So taking the ketones at some point alongside of high amounts of carbohydrates is, if you are already keto adapted, but you're still able to handle carbohydrates decently, if you take a bunch of carbohydrates and then you get that awesome blood sugar spike, and then you properly time it for, waiting for the bonk, and then you get these ketones in, you're gonna flip over, and it's like 2 sources of fuel. It is literally like rocket fuel. I swear to you, when I did this, my blood sugar went over, it was like 175 or so. My ketones were at 1.5 or so. I was bouncing off the walls. It felt like I drank a pot of coffee, but I hadn't. It was like, I felt like stimulants. And so I had to go train. I was bouncing off the walls. I went and trained, but then I will be honest, I crashed like a mofo. I crashed so bad afterwards. And then I came back though, and so it was great. A fun training session. I have fun review, and I was like blast off. It was crazy rocket fuel. I think the elite endurance athletes are going to find a way to figure this out. Yeah. And but of course, any elite athlete, by switching into ketosis for a year, they're gonna take a step back in their training, because they're so used to being on the carbs and everything. But at some point, I think someone's gonna figure this out. The cool thing is that now here's where exogenous ketones really awesome for your standard listener, is that this can cover up and it can mask a cheat meal. So I took 75 grams of carbohydrates, which would have ruined me on a regular day. But then shortly thereafter, it was like 20 to 30 minutes, because it was kind of slower digesting carbs I took. They're based off of oats and sweet potato and yam. I took the ketones. I never fell out of ketosis. And so I went back to like about the 0.8, 0.1 level or whatever, but I was able to take 75 grams of carbs without falling out of ketosis. So another just use case is, like, if you want to be bad and have a cheat meal, if you want to go to the Cheesecake Factory and have at it, well, you might look like a freak mixing together this drink with a bunch of ketones after you eat your cheesecake, and you will, I swear to you, you will be bouncing off the wall from all that sugar and ketones, but you're not gonna go back through the keto flu and have to fight through it again. At least, maybe I should say I didn't have to do that. And so there's another use case with just being able to cheat a little bit. And I'm not sure how often you can do that, but it's and is it worth buying a $50 tub of product just so you can eat a piece of cheesecake? I'll leave that up to you, but it worked.
So most of our viewers would say yes. Most of our viewers are gonna, as soon as they hear this, they are like currently buying ketones on Amazon.
I didn't mean to do that. So yeah, the research, and so there is research in terms of weight loss and everything. That is going to be very arguable. And so no one can make weight loss claims on things just yet, but I want to, so I want to make very clear, but I'm going to stick my neck out, and I'm going to say that eventually I do believe there's going to be a minor weight loss benefit from it. And so will it be significantly statistically significant? I don't know, but there's 2 things that are happening when you take ketones. First off, and we don't know the mechanisms, or I say the researchers don't really know the mechanisms just yet, but insulin levels go down, and blood sugar levels are going down when you take these exogenous ketones, and appetite gets suppressed a little bit. And so you got to realize each ketone, a gram of ketones is about 5. A gram of like the BHB salts is 5 calories. So if I take about 10 grams of that, I will tell you that I think that I'm getting more than 50 calories worth of appetite suppression. Okay. And so that's another, like, and that's not necessarily weight loss, but it's like, a positive side effect associated with kind of weight loss. Mm-hmm. And so there's something to be said there, but it cannot yet be currently marketed as a weight loss fat burning supplement. No. But I think there's something going on there, and a lot of my haters are going to be hating hard on me. So I'm sticking my neck out saying that there might be something going on there, but we're not sure of it yet. But that's another kind of use case that
I think a lot of people would say a similar thing about protein with the appetite suppression. A gram of protein or 4 calories per gram of protein gives you more appetite suppression than that.
Yeah, that's actually a good point.
I'm curious. So you took the ketones after. Were you monitoring your blood glucose when you took the ketones after the 75 grams of carbs?
Yeah.
Was that still heightened?
Yeah. So I did the. So it's in a long video. It was my Giant Sports Giant Keto review, which is my favorite one right now because it's the most bang for your buck. But so what happened? I had the blood sugar was at 175. The ketones were at like 1.4. And then 8 hours later, I did check both again. I don't know what the blood sugar was again. I honestly couldn't tell you. It might be on the channel. I
think it's time for the test.
The text. Is it really? Okay, sweet. Yeah. I should have turned the AC up in here. I'm like getting all hyper and sweating and everything. So this is
the results of the beta alanine test, and I'm hoping that it comes out favorable because I'd like to include it in a pre-workout. And also, we didn't touch much on creatine. People have a lot of questions about that. That is totally cool with keto.
Totally
correct?
Cool. I took 10 grams and my ketones went up. So, and it was just like my fast continued. Mm-hmm. So I stabbed myself off screen this time. Oh, this might be embarrassing. I didn't get enough blood. Come on. There we go. Whoo! Just barely made it. I might need to stab myself on the...
Now, is this the ketone
This
test?
is blood sugar.
Okay.
Oh.
Hey,
78.
okay. My blood sugar went down. Now, that could just be because I'm just...
fast.
Yeah, and I'm fired up over here. I'm wasting energy. Do I have another ketone strip? There it is.
Do you test your blood glucose after workouts ever?
No, should I?
I don't know. I'm interested to see what you would come up with. I noticed mine's a little elevated after workouts.
Yeah, I did that one time with that one, but it was a supplement. I would have to do it without taking a supplement, which is rare. So,
yeah.
Ketone time. That took a little longer than I wanted. Okay. We were at 1.7. So that takes then. Oh my! Okay, I'm flying high. I think I'm like too deep fasted. This is I've never even seen that at all for me. So I'm obviously gonna do another test. As of right now, I think that for me at least, of course, is always like that disclaimer. If you're fasted and you take something like that, it's not going to override. So
that's interesting.
Yeah, I've never seen a score that high though. I'm almost like getting to the point of I need to eat. So after this is over, I'm going to be chowing down for sure. And you've noticed I haven't been drinking a lot of water. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but.
So about the exogenous ketones, an interesting point you brought up that I haven't heard discussed too much is that there is a ton of electrolytes in them. So there could be some placebo effect of the ketones going on in there, which I've never really considered. And you also tested the Prove It supplement, right?
Yes.
Do they actually list the ingredients on those? Do they tell you how much BHB salt is in there?
They do not, but if you look at, you can kind of deduce because the MCT oil provides saturated fat, so that's on the label as like 7 grams or so, and the BHB salt is in front of, just straight up BHB is in front of it, and so they are. It's a prop blend, which I don't agree with all the time. There are prop blends that we've promoted, with PricePlow and everything. The question is, like, if you're going to sell me a $5 supplement, give me an open formula. I mean, seriously. So I'm just against the price. I got to be price sensitive. The fact is, though, MCT works for, the thing is for me, coconut oil works just as well as MCT for me in terms of ketones.
I saw your YouTube videos on these. This was interesting. You tested
Thanks for watching.
MCT oil and coconut oil back to back, like different days.
Yeah.
And they both increased your ketones pretty significantly.
Yeah, definitely. It works. It's like the science actually works. It's just so cool to see. But in terms of if I just need ketones and I'm on a budget, basically, if it's a cold liquid, MCT oil. If it's a warm liquid, coconut oil. That's kind of like my super basic thing. And so that you have to start looking at what are these other benefits of these ketones, and combining them is definitely a good idea. But to get back to rewind it back to what you said with the placebo effect, yeah, it might actually be there because the BHB salts like I have here, like that are in the Giant Sports one I like, the Ketologic, it's Compound Solutions is the name of the company. I'm not sure if they're on here or they might. Yeah, so it has Go BHB. And so Compound Solutions is they own the patent, and they got to be doing really well with this stuff. And so they have the patents, and they have 3 different forms. And then I think the supplement manufacturers can kind of choose the ratio of magnesium, sodium, and calcium that they want to do. I don't think potassium BHB works real well because I think it turns into a rock or it explodes or something crazy. So I think it becomes like very hydrophilic, and it doesn't work well in powders. But so yeah, the BHB salts seem to be the most cost-effective way. But yeah, it's like this one company, Compound Solutions, I like this personally because they are very trusted. They do the testing and they do the right thing, and it's not just a bunch of weird stuff coming over the ship that's not getting tested by companies. Like this stuff, I know if it says Go BHB on this label, I'm happy with these guys. I've used a lot of their other ingredients that they have. This isn't their only thing, and so. They're a good company, but they kind of control this thing, and they are attaching those electrolytes. And maybe you needed more sodium and didn't realize it, but I still do believe in the ketones. And there's a lot of great research on the ketone esters, but that's attached to an alcohol, and I guess it tastes like alcohol. It's terrible, and you're not gonna like it. But the results are definitely there, and the science seems to be advancing. But for regular people, here's my opinion. If you got an extra $50 in the budget, it's a good idea to have them around. Don't use them every day though, because you want them for the special occasions like the cheesecake and the having a super slow morning. But Compound Solutions themselves, they recommend that you can even take it during your fast. Personally, I think that's cheating because it is calories. It's you're gonna get 25 to 50 calories. So how much of a psycho are you on your fast really? And so
yeah, it's interesting that we're just at the tip of the iceberg with the research on these. I would say it's only going to get better. So in the coming years, we'll definitely have more interesting stuff.
Right. But at the same time, though, like just so everyone knows, I'm not trying to be a shill or anything. If you just want to get ketones going and you already are kind of fat adapted, go eat some coconut oil. Like have at it. It's cheap. It's the way to go. Problem with coconut oil, like at least the standard stuff, if you put it in your cold drink, it starts chunking up and everything. But yeah,
I'm curious, when you did the ketone test with the MCT oil, was that a particular type of MCT oil? Was it pure C8? Was it just generic MCT oil?
So I've gone down this road a little bit and haven't published anything because I wanted to be more into ketosis like I am now. So MCT oil that I used at first was, I know, I'm going to send you a bottle of this. By the way, some of the stuff we're talking about, I'm going to send you guys some. I used
We love stuff.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Here's why. I used the NutriKey MCT oil just because I had it in the house, and NutriKey did send this for free. I'm friends with these guys. They've never paid me a dime really, but because our money's made from the store at Amazon. I don't make money from NutriKey. And so anyway, this MCT oil, I did the unflavored one for their for the MCT test. Standard MCT oil, I really don't know the ratio because it's not disclosed, but I think it's pretty standard MCT oil with the C12, with all the acids in it. But this lemon flavor, don't be fooled. This is wrong. This is not a lemon. This is like, it looks like a lemon fruit. This is like lemon cake. And I swear you're going to be able to make some really good stuff with this flavor. Like it's like a sweet lemon. I love this flavor.
Okay.
So anyway, I was doing that, but I do have a few tests with the XCT oil I'll eventually be doing.
Okay.
And so this, and then there's also another one here. I got all my toys right here set up. This is another like XCT competitor. This is called Newton. And so they have a fully open formula where they have caprylic acid, which is the C8, the short chain, 7.7 grams, and then the C10 capric acid at 10 grams. And the theory here is that these are the shorter chains. They don't require any enzymes or any liver support to get into your mitochondria, and it's just like boom, like nearly instant energy. Here's the issue. I'm so far in my preliminary test where I wasn't as much in ketosis, my ketones didn't go up as much as they do with coconut oil and regular MCT oil. And so I'm going to be testing it again, but I am not fully sold on the bulletproof theory that shorter chains are better. And so I don't want to commit the appeal to nature fallacy, but I'm kind of more into the coconut oil. It's the more natural way at least. And looking at like the way the science works is to create a ketone body, to create a BHB molecule in your body, you need 3 acetyl-CoA molecules. And the way you get these acetyl-CoA molecules is a really good video I'll link to in like whatever my comment. The way you get these is with beta oxidation, where they're cleaving off these parts of the fatty acids. And so to me, you're going to get more of the ability to cleave stuff off with the longer chains. And that's why, to me, I think in coconut oil might just be fine. Like, these shorter chain fatty acids have less stuff to cleave off. Now, the molar, I'm not sure how much chemistry you want to get into. The molar mass is lower with these shorter chains. So you're going to get more atoms or more molecules of the shorter chain ones in a tablespoon. But at the same time, my ketones have been going up better with coconut oil. So that's just where it's at for me right now, but I've not like definitively done that. And one thing I just love about this Newton bottle, if you ever had an olive oil bottle that had the nice spout, I love it because this stuff, the XCT, I spill all over myself. So just simple things that make me happy right now.
The XCT is a Bulletproof company, and that is a blend of C10 and C8. I would love to see you get pure C8. I know the Brain Octane by Bulletproof is pure C8.
Okay, right.
And you're cutting out a little bit. One sec. Yeah, it looks good now.
Okay, you want to repeat that?
So yeah, the XCT is a combination of C8 and C10, and we're talking about the chains. Yeah, the chains in these medium chain triglycerides, and the Brain Octane version of the Bulletproof MCT oil, that is pure C8. I'd be really interested to see you do some of that as a test.
All right, yes. Consider it done. It'll happen eventually. Now, I think for the regular listener out there, I want to be clear that I think we're getting a little bit too much into the weeds in terms of testing all these. I will do it. Yeah. But listen, like, if you're worried about C8 versus C10, I think you're missing the forest for the trees. So just because I'm testing this and maybe something happens doesn't mean you need to follow that, really. It's just like, this is us geeking out and having fun. But at the same time, like, the forest is, get your macros and micros in place and everything. Exactly. So
most of this conversation has been the extra, like, things you can add on at some point.
This is going full on. Yeah, the full-on tweaks and everything. Now, here's one thing I got to say. I got to call out Bulletproof because I think they're better than this. Right now it says capric and caprylic acid in a proprietary blend of 14 grams. Now, one thing people don't realize of the proprietary blend, well, first off, capric is the C10. So they have more C10 than C8. First off, how do I know it's not 13.9 grams of one and 0.1 grams of the other? Second off, how do I know it's going to be consistent from batch to batch? So I might have something completely different in one than the other, as long as the label can stay the same. As long as capric is more than caprylic or they're more equal, then I could have the different batches can change as the price marks change for their raw materials. And so that's another thing that people don't talk about with proprietary blends, is that you don't, legally speaking, you don't need to have batch consistency. It could be, and we're talking about minutia possibly, but there's a lot of room. There's like 7 grams of swing in this thing. And so that's just a comment I want to add about the prop blend.
Yeah, proprietary blends can be a little scary sometimes.
Yeah, nutrition labels in general are really interesting because I didn't even know this before I got heavy into keto, but a lot of people like find heavy whipping cream and it says 1 carb and the other one will say 0 and they're like, found 0, yay! Like, no,
they probably all have right about 0.5 or something like that. And then you gotta look at the rounding error, look at maybe, they found something out, or they found a very friendly test maybe, or something like that. I don't want to throw any heavy whipping cream people under the bus, but I do enjoy a little bit of the cream for sure. So like with labels, we'll see how things adapt, because obviously the labels are going to be far behind. I personally think that proprietary blends should eventually be illegal, but I don't think that'll happen anytime soon. The labels are clearly marketed towards a different type of consumer, so we kind of got to be on our toes for sure. And I look forward to trying out like the sugar alcohols and these fraudulent, we call it fraudulent fiber, like the IMO fiber. It's not really fiber.
We'd love this.
If you see that as fiber, that's definitely not fiber. And so, given that, I'm going to be testing a lot of that, because like that IMO fiber does induce a blood sugar spike. It looks like, according to the science, that you're going to get about not 4 calories per gram, but you're going to get about like 3.1 or whatever it is. And so it's a little bit better, but a whole Quest bar, back when they were using that stuff, at least they're using soluble corn fiber now, which of course I got to test as well. That would have knocked me out of ketosis, because I'm so carb sensitive, unfortunately. And so we'll test it.
Yeah, we are running kind of long, but
Oh,
I
yeah,
love talking
that's
about
fine.
this stuff.
Yeah, for sure. We could do it again anytime, like as a catch up, or I can maybe. This has kind of gotten me to think that I should have a podcast on our channel, so maybe I'll invite you back and we'll get into your recipes.
I wasn't going to wrap yet because I had one more topic I wanted to touch
sure.
on.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah.
Nootropics. You're pretty knowledgeable about those, and I'm kind of been dabbling with them for a little bit now. Just quick, like, what are some that you have found hugely beneficial to you? Kind of like a starter course, real quick.
Okay, for sure. And so first off, we already touched. What have you tried so far? If you don't mind me asking.
So nootropics are like cognitive enhancers and just, I don't know how to describe them. I guess just things that aid your mental clarity, have cognitive benefits. The one I've tried and that I've stuck with and that I love is L-theanine with coffee or with some form of caffeine in the morning.
Absolutely.
I've also tried like a high dose L-theanine at night, which I didn't like very much. And then I've tried like 5-HTP. I've tried Noopept a little bit, which I didn't like one bit. I've tried
What was the one
You've gone
Penylparacetam, which definitely has some utility just in limited uses.
Agreed.
Like use it once a week or something.
Okay, so you've gone deeper than what I would even want to talk about. Once you get into the paracetams or the racetams, I think we're a little bit further along. But yeah, it sounds like we have very similar tastes in a lot of supplements, actually. So we'll have to keep in touch on email and everything. So I've already touched on one. First off, by being on the keto diet, I think that there is a big focus quality. Just by getting the fog of the grains and all that crap out of your brain prefers ketones. We were born in ketosis. Did you know that? And if you were exclusively breastfed, you were still in ketosis. So I'm starting to believe that that's our natural state. I'll cite sources, but I'm starting to believe that's our natural state. And when you get the diet proper, that alone is a nootropic. And so that's good. A lot of people are starting to look at the MCT for that too, and the ketone bodies. Those cross.
Also, creatine has a lot of nootropic properties. You don't need to just take it for like gym performance.
Correct. I haven't really ever felt anything like that, but it seems like there's benefits, right?
People say
people want to feel. So people want something they can feel. So being in ketosis alone and having enough fats for your body seems like a good start and everything as it is. Now we've already touched on acetyl L-Carnitine. 1 to 2 grams, I think, is you're going to possibly feel a little bit. In terms of L-theanine, we're looking at a lot of stuff that can cross the blood-brain barrier, and so the exogenous ketones, compound solutions will try to tell you that there's an effect you're going to feel, and so we'll have to send you some, and you can decide for yourself because I'm undecided on that, but it does cross the blood-brain barrier. In terms of and then the acetyl L-Carnitine. Another popular beginner one is L-Tyrosine, but I do need to warn people that L-Tyrosine is glucogenic. But it might be that it boosts dopamine levels. So if you need a dopamine kick, that might be a great one to have, even if it does kick up a little bit of blood sugar. Who cares? So you mentioned L-theanine. I'm fully with you. L-theanine's got the nootropic qualities come mixed with caffeine. That's where there's really good studies. I felt like when I take 200 milligrams solo, I feel like a little bit like a stoner surfer dude, and that's not, if you can't tell, that's not exactly I like surfing, but that's not exactly my mentality. I'm a little bit more aggressive. I don't like to chillax, and so that higher dose L-theanine doesn't work for me, but I like caffeine. 2-to-1 caffeine to theanine ratio is where I like it.
And the effects I would describe of caffeine with L-theanine is like caffeine can have you kind of high energy but a little scattered, and L-theanine directs your focus on a task. You can really be very productive. That's what I've found with it. Yeah,
definitely. It's kind of the yin to the yang, gives you a little bit of the calming effect. Now, for other beginner ingredients, I would say you want to increase your acetylcholine in your brain, and to do that, you take a form of choline. Now, a lot of us eat a lot of eggs, so we're already getting a lot of that. But Alpha-GPC or citicholine or CDP choline is a great one to boost that. And if you take enough Alpha-GPC, you might even get strength boost in your legs. So there's some...
Yeah, so I've taken Alpha-GPC. Do you think it's still necessary with the amount of eggs? I probably eat 3 to 4 eggs a day. Do you still think
I'd say
necessary?
You might still feel good on a half dose, 300 milligrams or something. But look at your budget. How many ingredients are we going to throw at everyone right now? So if you're already eating eggs, it's probably lower on your list. But yeah, I think you'll still feel it. And if you do a pre-workout, you get a mind-muscle connection. You focus on contraction a little bit more. And
what's the dose you go for on that?
250, 300 milligrams minimum, 600 milligrams, 500 milligrams of Alpha-GPC, and you're going to, I literally feel it pretty good. And then on the other side of the acetylcholine, this is the neurotransmitter that's like it's the learning neurotransmitter. You want to also prevent the acetylcholine from going away, and to help prevent neuronal cell death, you could also take Huperzine A. And so that's like the prolonger of the acetylcholine. And so choline stacked with this Huperzine A is another thing. But you don't want to take too much of the Huperzine A. So it comes from like club moss or whatever the word is, and it's in very, very small microgram style doses. And so that one stacks well. But for the beginners out there, I'm thinking like a choline source, being on keto in general, and then acetyl L-Carnitine. Those basics are good to go. And then like you mentioned, like the racetams. If people want to go further down that rabbit hole, we could definitely talk about that someday. But at some point, you're throwing too much at yourself, and we're like, you're starting to change the way neurons are behaving, and it's like, for the common consumer, it's good to like. What we need to have is like a scale of conservatism on our thing. And I would say like phenylpiracetam, while not dangerous, is something that I would say is like a 5.5 to a 6 out of 10 on the aggression scale. Like
Okay.
A lot of people who are just like pretty conservative and cautious don't want to take it, but it's this molecule is attached to a PEA molecule, and you get that really quick spike of energy and dopamine, and it feels good. So there's I'm not going to say anything bad about it, but I think for the beginner talk, the basics are better.
All right. This has been really great. So one last question we like to ask, and I feel like you've done a lot of things in the last 5 months, but what's something in the last 5 months you've recently started or picked up that you wish you started longer ago, like maybe 5 years ago even?
Yeah. So I actually was thinking about this because I heard it on your other podcast, and the honest question is keto diet. I'm a paleo person. I should have been here anyway, but that's kind of the obvious answer. So let's not answer that. That's an obvious. This is gonna be an interesting one. I actually sleep with my mouth taped closed, and so that's yes. And so
oh my God, I got panicked.
I like
so there's a lot of research coming out about, and it's been out about mouth breathing and the connections to ADHD and all sorts of problems because your tongue isn't in the right place. It's not pushing up on the pituitary gland, lack of growth hormone release. And when you breathe through your nose, you get a proper nitric oxide flow. And so my wife is, she's a myofunctional therapist here. And what she does is she helps kids swallow and breathe properly and stop sucking their thumbs and all that kind of stuff. And so you see a lot of people who are mouth breathers. First off, it's unattractive. And second off, everyone's like closing their mouth. My mouth's been open the whole time talking here, but your mouth is for eating, the nose is for breathing. And so what I started doing is because I've had allergy problems my whole life, I've not been able to breathe through my nose properly my whole life, so I kind of became a bit of a mouth breather. And that eventually, especially if you're overweight, can turn into sleep apnea. And that is a silent killer, like more than like a lot of the stuff we're talking about here health-wise. I think sleep apnea is a massive, massive silent killer. And so if you simply train yourself to breathe through your nose, and when sleeping, it's like a low-grade, kind of not too sticky, adhesive, medical kind of tape that doesn't hurt to pull it off. You train yourself to breathe through your nose, and it takes a good week or two to get used to. And it's weird. It looks weird. I get it, and it sounds weird. You start waking up way more refreshed. Like I am all about, I don't like to go to sleep without my mouth taped closed. It's as crazy as it is, and I've never told anyone that in public. I wish that Jill would have gotten into this earlier so that, and she was doing it a little bit longer than I have, but I really wish that I would have bought in a little bit sooner and started doing it because it does feel better. And I could tell you, like when I train, I train with a heart rate monitor across my chest. I think that's the best way of like kind of communicating with your body a little bit in terms of giving me some immediate physical feedback. I can be on a treadmill and change nothing, but start inhaling through my nose and exhaling through my mouth, and I could drop my heart rate 5 or 6 beats per minute just by nasal breathing. And so I'm a huge fan of it. And I don't know where that application is going to go because There's a lot of, so in that industry that she's in, there's a lot of ins and outs, and it connects to dental and orthodontics and all this stuff. But I just know that I wake up more refreshed when I actually keep that mouth tape closed and breathe through my nose, and I am not stuffed up anymore. And it's amazing.
That's awesome. That's the most unique tip we've gotten so far.
Yeah.
You're going to have a whole new following of mouth tapers.
Well, if you do, I'd love feedback. I don't even know what kind of tape you use. It's Jill's. And so I'll try to find out what it is, because I don't want people duct taping their mouth shut. There's this stuff comes on and off pretty easy, but it works. So, but yeah, thanks for that question.
During the first week though, of sleeping with your mouth tape shut, I know I've tried earplugs and just things. If I fall asleep with gum in my mouth, I find it's in my hand, or I panic and I wake up and I rip the earplugs out. So were you doing that with the tape, out of curiosity? Do you rip it off at night?
I was having there was more of a mental problem, having trouble breathing, and I was over breathing. And this is a big thing that happens in her industry, is this over breathing. And I wasn't confidently thinking I was getting enough air. And so I was freaking out a little bit. And so it took me time to realize oh, just calm down. Your body knows now how to not die. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So there will be some sort of adrenaline or endorphin rush, and it'll open up the not the vessels, but it'll open up the airway a little bit, and that's how you're supposed to breathe. And so same thing with going into ketosis. Your body has mechanisms of not dying. And so but yeah, there's a little bit of that, and it's also just annoying. At some point, you feel like you're not getting a proper breath, and then you just rip it off in the middle of your sleep or something like that. But I got used to it. But yeah, there is a little bit of that. It was more like a mental get over the fact that your body knows how to breathe through its nose. But if you're crazy plugged up and a shot of Tabasco doesn't help, then maybe tonight's not the night to do it. So,
okay.
This has been awesome, Mike. Where can they find you? You got PricePlow.com. You got the YouTube channel.
Yeah, so everything is PricePlow. I guess I would like some feedback from people. This is my first time doing this, and I really have kind of hidden behind the PricePlow brand. There's not a whole lot going on with me personally, and so I'm really not sure what to do with my own life. But everything's been PricePlow. Twitter, Instagram. We kind of have a few guys on YouTube. All PricePlow. You're going to see a lot of supplement reviews, a lot of the bro stuff with CJ. He's got his tattoos, and he's awesome YouTube personality. But all of our videos are not going to be keto stuff, and so know that going in. And I really super appreciate all the shout outs and having me on, because I know you have a great following. You guys are doing awesome things. When I do get sick of the foods I'm eating, I'm looking for your recipes, because a lot of people, they got to go to keto, they look for recipes. Knowing me, I look for supplements, and that's why I went in my direction. But I'm already starting to see that it's the fat bombs and stuff like that. You guys are doing such awesome things. And you're preaching the good word. And I really think that this is something that people need to at least be aware of, that there's an alternative fuel source, and you guys are providing that. And it's so, thank you so much for everything you do. I wish I could have been there with you from the start. Really, I'm embarrassed to say I wasn't. So I really appreciate coming on.
You're our go-to supplement guy now. We definitely need to have you on again in the future. Give us some more time, newer supplements. Maybe we'll try the exogenous ketones again. We can talk about that.
I'm going to make sure, I'm going to send you a care package, because I really appreciate going on here. And I have this whole setup of stuff over here. I have too many things. So and so I'm going to get your address and everything, and then you don't have to say anything, don't have to do any shout outs, but I want you to play with some of these that flavored MCT. I have some soy lecithin granules that I use. There's a muscle building kind of thing behind that, and I'm going to send you these to see if you can maybe make something taste better with them. So awesome. It's only $10, so we're gonna I'm gonna get you something good. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
All right, thanks
so much,
everyone.
Mike.
Take care.
Bye.
Welcome to PricePlow.
Okay.
Woo!
Great.
Thank you. That was fun. I'm sorry if I go on and ramble and rant a bit.
That
I
was
love that.
Fantastic.